Hi, my name is Lotte. I work at AU Career, and today we have a company visit.
Yes, my name is Rikke Algard. I'm the head of HR at Eurowind Energy, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Today we'll be talking a bit about job interview questions. But just before we go through some of the most common questions, I just want to know, what do you think is important when students or graduates are preparing for the job interview?
I think it's very important that they know about the company, that they have searched the company on the internet, that they maybe have read the annual report, that they really have some qualified questions that is very related to the specific companies instead of all the general questions.
Yeah, and also as we talk about when we prepare our students, if you have actually done some research, it also helps your confidence when you walk into the room because you really feel prepared.
Exactly. And we will everybody loves to talk about themselves, so we like when people knows about the company and ask questions about the company, so that's really also a good point that you get in the beginning as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the questions. Okay, so the question is, and this is what we hear is almost the most common sentence a company will ask you. So they will ask you, tell me a bit about yourself.
And I'll start also with what is not good to say. I'll start about the bad answers, the things not to say. A bit about yourself is don't use all the normal words. I mean, innovative. I'm very open-minded. I'm very happy. Be a little bit more specific about yourself, about what you've been doing, what have been driving you in your life up till now, why you have chosen the different roads that you have chosen. That's very important to be very specific and not just use the normal phrases that everybody uses.
Yeah, and also I hear sometimes that people might have a tendency to speak a little bit too much about one specific thing, for example, the education, and I think it's important, as you also say, try to elaborate a little bit about yourself in all aspects, because you are hiring not only based on the education, but yeah, a little bit more about the person in all aspects.
Yes, and definitely when being a student, when being newly graduates, you look a lot on the education, but the education is education. We need to know more about you and what you gained from it and what you did in your spare time as well, or voluntary work, because everybody has an education. So it is very important to talk a little bit more about the whole person.
Yeah.
So agree.
Mhm. Okay. Next question, please. So another question could be, and especially with internationals, they often have been to several countries. So the question would be, you have studied in different countries. Can you describe what you have learned from that?
And the bad question here is that I've learned a lot about food in different countries. So I learned a lot about, I wanted to travel and see the world. Here is more, everybody wants that. Here is more to be specific. This university had a very specific course that I really wanted to join because of this and that. So be again very specific on why you chose this country, why you chose these different courses. Sometimes it's also that you have a course that you cannot get in Denmark, and that's why the reason why you decided to go to somewhere else to get this specific course, because that was very important for you. So please be very specific on why you chose the different courses and why you chose a different country.
And I also think that when people travel to a university abroad, they might sometimes do it by themselves. I think that's also a good strength to highlight that you travel by yourself, maybe to Japan to study at a university. You learned a lot about yourself, that you are actually more independent and you're very open-minded to the new things, the new cultures, and especially I would believe that many students, especially internationals, are looking for a company who has an international profile. So you will be working with different nationalities, and it's important to say that you have this experience.
Exactly. I can also give an example. I had a student coming from Italy to Denmark, And when I interviewed him, he said, I just really wanted to know how the happiest people in the world are living. And I just like that. And it was really his main driver for going to Denmark. I just really want to know how it is to be living in the most happiest country in the world, one of the most happiest countries in the world.
Yeah. Also, I have another example. I had a student for counseling at one point, and he was a Dane, but he had both studied and traveled to many countries. It was like 25 different countries, and he was looking for a job where he had to travel so many travel days per year. And it said in the job ad, do you like to spend Christmas in Italy? Do you like to spend New Year's Eve in China? So they have clearly listed that it was important that you had an international profile. And so for him, it was really important to state all the different countries that he'd been to and why he went to so many countries. And he got the job. So that was really nice for him. Yes.
That was a good story.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question.
Yes, and the bad answer here is I just wanted to earn some money, or I did the volunteer job because my best friend did it as well. This is not a good answer. Everybody, we know it's because of the money, but also please be very specific on why you chose this specific student job. It's maybe not the best paid, but it learned me a lot about my study as well. It was something that I can use in my study. Be very specific why we've chosen this specific job. And when it comes to voluntary job, we need to know your heart behind the volunteer job. Is it because you want to help sick kids? Is it because you want to have birthday parties for people who don't have money enough to do it themselves? So be very specific on where your heart is in the voluntary work as well. This is, and give the examples. That's again very important. So not just for the money and because your friend did it. Be specific on why you chosen this specific job and where your heart is in the volunteer work.
I remember at one point where I asked you about the volunteer work, where you actually said that you had a person at one time that you actually hired this person based on the volunteer work, because it means so much that that you can hear that people are doing something very interesting, and it really shows the personality.
Yes, and that's really, really important. The volunteer work is really important. Don't underestimate it, because when you come out as newly graduates, you're all the same. You're all the same. You're same age. You're same whatever. So it's very important that you differ, and you can do that by volunteer work. We definitely have hired people because of their volunteer work. Someone has been working with tigers in Africa. Someone has been helping a blind person he met in the supermarket because his mother was blind, so he knew what it was. So he decided to help this woman in the supermarket, and I hired him right away because I said, okay, the personality like that for a young person is just really, really good.
Yeah. Yes. Next question, please. So how would former and present co-workers describe you? What does, accordingly to them, challenge you?
Again, here I would say, in the beginning, don't use the normal phrases. Be very specific again on what you think your mates how they will describe you, or your former colleagues. And here again, it's very, very important to have the examples. They describe me as very outgoing because I do this and that and in the company, or they describe me as maybe a bit introvert because I like to work on my own, but that's also a very, very positive thing. But be very specific again on why they describe you as this, and not just use the normal phrases. It is very important.
Yeah, and I also think that it's good for us to say to the job seekers that it's not only the description or the recommendation from a boss that is important, but it's also from your fellow students, from your group members or work colleagues. Because they have actually experienced you even more in your everyday work.
Yeah. I sometimes also ask specifically, please name the best colleague that you have by name, because it needs to be someone, real person, not just how you want a colleague to be, because that also helps a lot in knowing what you like from a colleague and how you then are as a colleague.
Yeah. Okay, next question. What role do you take or have in a group work setting?
Again, it's also important to be very specific and not just say, I can sometimes do this, I can sometimes do that, and it depends. Especially coming from AAU, you have a lot of group work. We always ask you, if you have a group of 5, which role do you take? Do you take the cashier? Do you take the leader? Do you take the minute writer role? Sometimes we help you in setting up the roles. But be very specific in what you like to do in a group. Are you the leader? Are you the leader when no one else is the leader? That's also fine. But be very specific again on how you want to work in a group and what you like.
And I also think, as you said, to give examples, because we know that when you do a group work, you often take different roles, but there's a tendency that you might prefer a specific role. So make sure to give that example of why do you think that is more you to be in this natural position.
We can also sometimes ask you, playing football, which role will you play in a football game? Are you the one kicking the goal in, or are you the goalkeeper, or are you the midfield? Because that also describes you good.
Yeah.
So you can use that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Think of the best leader you have ever had. What makes this person a good leader?
And here again, it's important to talk about the good leader, not the bad leader when you're asked about the good leader. Sometimes we hear people bugging about the boss now, about what he or she cannot do. When you talk about being the good leader, also be very, I like when he calls me into one-on-ones once a month. That's very important for me to have this. Or I like him being some open-minded. When I come with my questions, I like her having an open door, always being able to jump in. So also again, give the examples of what you like, not just that she's good and she's happy and she's funny. Give the examples of what you like from this good leader.
Could you maybe say a good characteristic for you when you've had a leader? What defines that person?
For me, it's someone who can engage me and where I get the full responsibility. I don't like to be just 1 out of 10. I like to have my own job, my own work to do. For example, so a good leader is one who's giving me a good, I normally use the green field, a big green field to play on, not a small green field. I really need the big green field. Just give me the headlines and then I'll be running with it.
Yeah.
Don't be too specific on me, for example. I can find out myself or I'll come and ask.
Yeah.
Or also someone who has don't call me in every week to see how I am. I will make sure that I'll come if I have something that's bothering me. But someone would like to be called in once a week. So that's also important for the coming boss, the boss to be maybe, to know that if you need to be called in once a week to hear how you are.
Okay, next question. So we've called this question the Joker. By this I mean, do you sometimes know that you will answer something that is maybe a little bit strange to see the reaction, or just because you think that this is a fun question to ask?
I think I like the way of using it. For me, it's very important to bring the humor into the conversation, because that's a lot me, but that's also a lot about the company, that you show this good vibes in the company. I'm not using, I've never asked someone, if you were pizza, who do you think you were? But I actually like the question, and sometimes I think this moment where you get them get the candidate a little bit on shaky ground is also a fun way but it's very, very important when asking a question like this. It's very important that you have the glimpse in your eye, that you don't sit totally straight and not having a smile on your face, because then it could be uncomfortable for the candidate. But with a glimpse in your eyes and asking this question, I would maybe do it next time.
I know that some employers will also ask questions that can be a little bit proactive. Like I know I experienced myself many years ago to have the leader ask me the same question about how I would react in a specific situation, and he kept pushing me, and I was getting more and more annoyed, and in the end I was very strict and said, this is specifically how I would do it. I wouldn't accept this. And I could feel that he was actually trying to see if I could if I could take a stand, if I could, make it clear that this was my limit and no further. And when I reacted in the more, can you say, the more dominant way, he just leant back and he was like, okay, thank you. So he wanted to push my button a bit. But yes, we have sometimes here strange questions. I had a student that said, that was asked, so if you have maybe 1 month left to live, would you still work with us? And we were like, that is a strange question, because how can you answer that? It will be not a very good, I think, it wouldn't say much about the person if it said, yes, of course I'll work here for the last month, because I don't think so. Hopefully that person would go out and experience the world. But yes.
I think sometimes as a recruiter, we really have a responsibility to make this professional and also to show the culture of the company. And I'm not that, it's my personal view, but I'm not that fond of questions that is just for seeing the reaction, because it is a little bit awkward situation, and one who's wanted the job and one who's selling the job. And I like to ask some quick questions where they don't know exactly the answer, but I think it's a little bit asking the question you said there. I would never do that.
Okay, next. Yeah. Why should we hire you? That is a very good question to ask in the end.
And here it's very, very important with what we talked about in the beginning, that you know the company, that you know what the company stands for, that you know the company's product, that you know the company's European markets or whatever, because here you can really make the final signing. If you could be very specific on this company, what you could offer this company, if it's language skills, if it's communication skills, whatever it is that the job is, it's really here you should match it to the company. It is.
And I also think, as you said, competences. You really need to be sure that you understand what you can do, what your competences are. And I also often recommend that when people try to prepare themselves for the job interview, try to speak out loud when you prepare, because then you can also hear when an argument or a statement about you is not really good, that you have to be a little bit certain on what you want to say.
And it's really, really important to speak out loud. It helps in everything that you have to present, but it could also be a very good idea to talk to one very close friend or husband or wife or relative, and talk to them about trying to sell yourself to them, because they can also come with inputs and say, no, you're very good at this. Why didn't you say this? Or why didn't you mention that you did this and that? So it's also very good to do the sparring with one of your very close friends or relatives.
Very good points. Okay, so thank you very much, Rikke. It was really nice to hear HR person's opinion about it. And if you have any questions, or if you need to book counseling, you can always do that on our website. So have a nice day, everyone.